Dolby Atmos calibration today, and this is actually the heights now, going into the height channels. Is the calibration different? Let's take a look. There are some setup things that I do to, I believe, help calibrate the sound, but before we get into that, I just want to discuss the last video. The red right here is the front main calibration, and it's got a nice roll-off here, and this mirrors the roll-off of the natural speaker itself, uncalibrated as well. And that's really what you want to do. However, the green here, this is the center calibration that we did last week. I ended the curve, I guess you could say, around 50 something. It was probably in the 50s. And what happened is the bass is now increased down here, and it's not rolling off properly. So you can see in the dB here, down here, this is at 30 Hertz, right? And at 30 Hertz, the normal calibration is -16, but the center cal is negative like 4.3. So, you know, we're just gaining too much bass here, and this would put pressure on the speaker, and it's going to put pressure on the amplifier as well. Amplifier / receiver, whatever you're using, it's going to put unnecessary strain on these speakers. And as well, I'll show you what the actual EQ curve looks like. YouTube center, yeah. So front and center YouTube, okay, yep. Connect. I fully calibrated my system now, so that's why I'm having to load up this file. Because I wanted the YouTube stuff separate from my real calibrations. Just you know, because there's certain things, like I'm not going to sit in this seat the entire time on a real calibration. Like if I did, say, the left and the right speaker, I make sure I move. As well, these cushions, I remove all the cushions. There's a cushion removed in the middle because I don't want anything, I don't want boundaries next to a microphone because it increases bass, and it can change the way sound is around things. So you want your microphone to be in an open, like an open environment, you know, nothing blocking it whatsoever. So yeah, so the center curve, the fronts actually ended up okay, and but here's another thing. This is because of the way I let the curve roll off, it's actually under tracking here. Now you may say, well, that's fine, you know, we're rolling off the speakers at 80 Hertz anyway, it doesn't matter. This is true, but even this, like, you know, you don't need to do this. You don't need to roll it off in this way, right? You can just let it roll off at 0. Now the center one, this is around 50 Hertz. It was probably around 52 then, by the looks of it. I'll look at the code in a minute. And what's going on here? I didn't really know what was going on here last video, but since then I've done a lot of sleepless nights trying to figure out what is going on here. But basically what is happening is, if you can see on the curve here, this is 0 dB, right? This is the flat line. What is happening here, we're under, at this point right around here, we're negative numbers, but the curve itself is increasing in decibels, even though it is under 0 dB. The fashion of it is going in one direction, which is increasing dB. It's showing that here, right? That means we are boosting. If you just cut the curve, if you just cut it there, what happens with Audyssey, now I don't know if all EQ is like this, and target curves and things like that, is it literally just follows what has been going on, and it is trying to get back to 0. I think that's the end goal, will it eventually get back to 0, but because the boost here was so steep, it's almost mirroring that and trying to follow it all the way around to, I guess, 10 Hertz, and we never actually get back to 0. what that means is this is all completely boosted center channel between 50 Hertz and 10, and you can't really, even though you are, you know, if your speakers are set to small and you're rolling off, but I don't think the roll off is even this much. So I noticed that my receiver was going into like high fan mode because of this. So yeah, you don't want this. You don't want this at all. You want to look after your speakers and your amplification of whatever you use. So there are a couple of ways to fix this. Now, one is actually in the app, which if you know me, I don't want to do that. The reason is because the app, I like to learn things. I need to figure out how to fix this myself in a completely 100% manual way, right? That is the whole purpose of this app specifically as well, this program by Audyssey, is you have 100% full control. And the reason I prefer to do it that way is because I want to learn myself. I don't want to just have this graph here show me, okay, now we've fixed the problem. You can fix the problem here, and if you want to do that, you can. So if you click on override, and that's significant. This is actually what is happening on the target curve. It doesn't show this on here, which I would actually like, but this curve actually just shows what the curve is. This is showing, though, what is really happening on the receiver end and what is truly being boosted. So it's a second order curve, right? Or roll off, you can say. Now that is this is 0 dB, right? So this is too aggressive. We don't want that. We'd be under tracking way too much. Even for a wrong direction. Even for a center channel. I mean, I say even for a center channel. You know, there's no channel that is to be treated in a way that is, you know, you don't need to go as hard or as good as you can in each speaker. But I am just saying, you know. So we raise this 50. All right, we're over now, right? So the frequency of 40 we're actually over. 50 we are below. If you want to get really picky about it, let's go maybe 54. No, the other way. So 40, 48, 45, 45 we get back to 0, right? And we have pretty much elegantly, you know, curved this off. This might be difficult to see. I would love it if you could zoom these in, but you know, I'm dealing with what I have right now. So basically, we've took care of this, right? We've took care of this problem entirely. We've used the override, and you can import any code that you want. Anything that is like raising the original code. If you don't cut it off here, raises to like 25 dB. You can use the override here, cut that off, and take care of it. So, you know, problem solved. You can do that. You can, though, also do this. And it's always slow going into here. You can go into this. This is the EQ limiter. However, I have a feeling that what I did was that I cut the speaker off at 50 and then just let the, you know, let the EQ go. I have a feeling this is doing the same. So if I said, say, 50, you know, you can see here it cut off all of this. Now I want to know. I want to contact Audyssey about this and ask them, is this a brick wall filter? Like, if does this mean that this is going to 0 instantly? So let's do 55, 60. All right. So it's cut the EQ off completely here. It's showing that this is flat. I'll have to measure this and see if this is true. But these really are two ways to take care of this. However, this one I feel as though this is doing just what I was doing. Cutting it off at a certain frequency, and then maybe it just you know, taking its own mind and going anywhere at once. If that's the case, this isn't really that good either. The design curve one is much better, where you can override it. As soon as this hits 0 dB, you're done, right? And you don't have to mess with any code. However, I want to understand this for myself. I need to know what I'm doing. I'm just one of those people that, look, I want to get further involved. I need to know if I can fix this myself rather than having this system do it for me. So let's so again, just before we start the calibration on the Atmos channels, I just want to take care of this and let people know that there is a fix for this. So what you do is, let's take the original measurement that we had, and I've normalized the volume already because I didn't want to like mess around with that too much. So we're at 0 dB here. We're going to export measurement as text, and I'm going to include the entire range. The entire range. This is from, according to this, is 9 to 23714. So it's a lot. Let's do that for now. Yeah, I'll override the center one. For YouTube, it doesn't matter, does it? So what we have here is, this is the full EQ. Let's clean this up. Clean that up. And another thing is, what I'm doing now is I'm cleaning up this part because I think this is I think this is just too much. We're overcorrecting here for from around 20K. I think we overcorrect too much. If you look at the measurement, center channel, graph, let's take away the smoothing. Then you go to the RTA. Is there any way for me to come down? Yeah, there is. Right. Is it easier full screen? Maybe it is. If you see around, this is the original measurement of the speaker itself, right? So once you get to 20K, and maybe even before that, it's maybe at 17K, but let's just go with 20K for a second, right? Look at how much this speaker just rolls off to nothing. That means either the receiver is doing that, is just rolling it off. The signal from the test patterns, or the test tones that I was using is completely rolling off. That is just that's almost brick wall filter going on there, right? I'm not over. You can. The code is saying, hey, we can correct for this, but I'm not doing it. And the reason is because I don't truly know where the signal ends. Is it the speaker rolling off like this? Is it the receiver rolling off like this? And is it the test tones I'm using? I don't want to overdrive my system. I just don't want to do that. I don't think this is worth it past this point of actual human hearing. So what I think the best thing to do is before 20K, I'm not including the 20K. I've talked to Audyssey about this, and they said, look, you can do everything up to 24K, and anything down to 10K, or 10 Hertz, sorry, not 10K. So you can do anything that. I just don't feel comfortable boosting. If you look at this, from 20K, we're at 5, and then at 23K, nearly 24, we're at 3. That's 3 dB, and we're correcting for potentially a test tone that was maybe clipping at 20 and stopped at 20 and just had a little bit of extra in there, or something in here is causing that to happen. I just don't want to correct for that. I don't think it's worth it, and it potentially could cause issues. Now you could say we're negative numbers, but I just don't want to do that. That's just me. So what I do is the number, anything that has a 20 in it is going to be negated here. Now you could say, well, we're going to have the same problem here about rolling off. Now you're actually causing the system to roll off in a different way. This is also true. But what you could do is change the last number. I didn't do this on my full calibration, but what you could do is this, is guide the EQ roll off, right? So what you could do is you write 620. 620 is less than 625. So what we're doing, we're changing the shape of the roll off, because whatever direction the EQ finishes at in a target curve like this, and there's room left, you can go up to 24K, and it's the same with the bass. You can go down to 10 Hertz. If you cut off before those points, the EQ will roll off in whichever direction you were going in. It is from what I'm seeing. What this would then do is allow the well, actually this is negative. We're actually boosting here. So 6, right. So if you actually go, sorry, if you went 630, I'm thinking these were positive numbers for a second there. They're actually negative. So you are, this number here is bigger in volume than this number here. We're negating more here. 630 is negating more than 625, which means we're changing the shape of the roll-off in the treble area as well. You could do what I'm about to do though, and that is take all of the code that was under this section and just set it to 0 dB. You could do that as well. I'm not doing that because I don't know if treble's such an issue as bass is. So that's the only reason I did that. So yeah, yeah. All right, let's continue. So what do we actually want to do here? So what I chose to do last time was this. Wait, these are positive numbers. Wait. No, we're not far enough yet. So there's positive numbers at 166. I've done the wrong thing. I know I've done the wrong thing, I think. Something else was on screen. Yeah, it was definitely wasn't that, was it? Okay, export settings for A over B. Okay, let's override the center. Sorry about that. But it's good to make mistakes and learn together, you know. So, alright, YouTube. Let's clear this up. And let's just clear the bottom section off. Okay, yeah. We are in positive numbers, because I was like, why am I in negative numbers? Okay, so what we can do here is get to, yeah, let's do this. Get to 20K, remove all of this. Alright, so now we actually are boosting, right? From 19K, 19753 to the next number, 897, we are actually boosting in this fashion. So what you can do is 0, let's just do 0, 0, right? 3. Again, we're changing the shape of the roll-off as it does, which I think that's how you should roll off the treble, in that fashion. So, or you can just cut it off like I did and don't change any numbers. So that's what I did on my full calibration. I'm not hearing any issues by doing that. So yeah. All right, now what we want to look for is where the negative target curve tracking meets the speaker itself, which is here. Now we're boosting. At 50 Hertz we're boosting, right? Everything here is being boosted. I know these are negative numbers, but don't worry about that. I wonder when they go negative. Wow, what is that? some weird stuff going on there. Yeah, I'm not really too sure what's going on with that, but you know, look, we're boosting here 31. You know, you can't have this in your code. You can't have it. You have to change it. Or like I was trying to do, cut it off, but then it causes issues within itself. Okay, so what we have to do is Obsessive Compulsive Audiophile had a video where he used a spreadsheet to extract some information from the code that I just copied. When you measure in REW with this way, when you measure this way and press start, it also collects timing information and impulse information, essentially, right? You don't want that included in the code that you upload to, say, Audyssey, the mobile app on the phone, or this app either. So you have to somehow negate it all. Now, doing that by yourself to all that code takes a long time, and it's really just a nightmare. So this is one I was working with earlier. So this is Sheets, Google Sheets. Google Sheets is free, so you know, it's easy to use and easy to get to. I have called mine here the MultEQ-X target curve fix. Okay, so what we do is we paste the code in, which was everything from 50 Hertz ish, right? Everything from 50 where we're starting to boost. Okay, now what this has done though is put this only into one column. That is annoying because it doesn't, you know, but you can fix that. If you click on data, you can split the text into columns, right? So click that, and the separator would be space. What this does is it puts it separates these. So you could just grab this code now if you want and paste that anywhere, and you know, pull it out of this. But what we want to do is we want to, and I've talked to Audyssey about this. I contacted Audyssey over the weekend about this, and I said about the target curve things and why is there a big roll-off here and things like that. They told me that you need to complete the EQ curve, or the curve that you're importing, all the way down essentially to 10 Hertz, because they told me 10 Hertz is the cutoff for Audyssey. I was like, okay. Now this goes down to 2, but I also asked them in a previous post, I said, if I EQ past 10 Hertz, what actually happens? And they told me that Audyssey and the receiver don't accept that information. They just bypass that information. You can be in there, it just won't use it. It just simply will not use any information below 10 Hertz. I was like, okay. Oh, we need to fix this. So I want to see all of this information, right? All of it. Now, by default, Sheets truncates some of this information. If you see that this is 3 digits long at the end there, and this is what, 6? Yeah, this is 6. This is 6 digits long after the point. And if there's zeros in here, it will truncate it just to clean the code up, but I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I want to keep this formatting as the way it is. So what you do is you go to format, then you go to number, and I've made these. I've already made these, but you can add a number, a custom number format. So my custom number format was 0. And then with 6 zeros, right? So I made that one, and then this one is for my other column. So you apply that there. All this does is make sure that it shows all of the numbers, including 0. I want to see 0 as well, including on here, because it wouldn't do that on here. This might be a little OCD, because Audyssey might accept numbers. It might accept 0 as being not a number, you know. But I didn't want that, so I cleaned it up. So that what I just did now is make sure all of these numbers and this shows. So what we do is we set this to 0.000. What is this? This is setting the target curve to 0, right? Because we have to control this roll-off manually by ourselves. Then what we do is we select that column, or that we select it, and then we select the entire column itself. Then what you do is you press Control on the keyboard. At least this is on a Windows PC, right? Control Enter. What Control Enter does is it pastes what you have selected into all of them, right? So these are all 0.0 now. They're not like 10 dB, negative 31 or anything like that. This is all 0 dB. This is great. Now how do we export this though to Notepad? What you have to do is you have to select the full column and Control left click here, or just click, you know, and you select both of them in that way. Now you can't just copy and paste right here. So in Windows it's Control C, so you press Control C. That now copies both of these. If you just right click Control Paste, it doesn't work. At least again on a Windows PC. So so now this is all selected, 50. This is everything that all the code that I've selected, and this is how it used to look with the negative numbers. Now what we do is we paste over the top, right? Now when you copy and paste, it includes the column space, and I thought, again, OCD, does this cause any issues? No, because it doesn't, it only sees one space, and anything in between here, it doesn't matter. This could be 1,000. You could space this 1,000 times. It doesn't matter. I wouldn't want to do that, but or 10 times. You know, it doesn't matter. It just reads the numbers. So this spacing difference here that I've got between the two, it doesn't matter. So now what do we have? We have from 50. So again, this is the target curve itself, right? This is where I wanted it finished, but it wouldn't roll off properly. Well, now we have to manually force it to roll off in a certain way. So I want the speaker to roll off in flat, a flat response from the point of the receiver. That's what I want it to do, because the speaker's just going to roll off anyway, which is completely fine. And I just want nothing being applied to these frequencies all the way up. All the way up to 2 Hertz. Now, yeah, Audyssey said 10. I could cut the code. I'm not going. I'm not going to. Because it doesn't matter. Again, it won't be used. I could cut it off. Yeah, I'm not going to do it. But let's see what it now looks like. So again, this is exactly how. This is exactly what's going on in the receiver. This is being boosted. This can't happen. Everything else is fine though. Center speaker sounds great. It sounds exactly the same as my original, my real calibration, we'll say. Sounds exactly the same. I just had to clear this up. Once we cleared this up, my receiver's not going into high fan mode anymore, and nothing like that. The sound as well. I've talked about this in the first video about, hey, I'm pushing my system to the edge. I don't get that anymore. And it's because of this. Again, this is hard to amplify. 100 Hertz down, maybe 120 down, maybe 250 down. Just anything with bass, right? And once you start getting into the heavy bass down here, it now becomes very difficult to amplify. And a 80 Hertz small speaker roll-off is not going to help roll this off at all. So yeah, let's just delete that. We're going to delete that. Import the new target curve. Center. This should be it. Okay, now we don't need the override, because look, it's look what it's doing. It's just bringing this down. We can disable the override and it goes flat. So look at this. This is exactly where I wanted to EQ to. I've now filled in with 0.00, which is flat, just a flat response. I don't want to EQ there at all. And now knowing that you do have to EQ actually all the way until 10 Hertz, you can really do some really cool stuff actually. And again, even with the treble roll-off, actually you can see the treble roll-off is going down. Huh. Okay, well that again, that fix worked too. You could just roll your treble off and you can completely control your bass here. You could go, I mean, if you really wanted to really get into this, you could even, you could still use the override. Maybe not that aggressively. Right? 20? You know? I know we're rolling off anyway because I've set my speakers to small. Even the front, I know this is a center, but even the fronts, right? There could still be some information in here, right? That you are like, look, I don't hear it anyway, but my amplifier receiver is still boosting those a little. I don't know by how much. It might even be by negative 10 dB at this point. It could be negative 12. It could be negative 15. I don't know what the values actually are of how much that roll-off of 80 Hertz affects those tones. But you could just force this to happen in the override section if you wanted to. I don't need to do that anymore, but you can do that, right? If you're like, look, I want to save as much amplifier power as possible, I'm going to start capping this as much as I can. As soon as I stop hearing it, measure it. So what you can do is measure and see how much this affects your curve. If you've now met the point where you're taking too much off, then you know there's plenty you can do here to change all this. I just think this is really cool. So, okay, yeah, so that's the fix, and that's the fix now I've applied to all my speakers in here. It took, because I'm not really I don't really know how to use spreadsheets very well. To be honest, I'm not really a spreadsheet guy. So it took me a little while to do this for all of the speakers. You know, I already had the code, so I now needed to apply it to every single speaker again. I deleted all of these, all of the ones that were in there already, and yeah, so I had to re-upload everything, and you know, it was a whole thing. It really did. I think it was about an hour and a half again, because I really just didn't know. I was trying to learn this again for myself. So one thing I'm not going to save this for a second, and the reason is I want to show how Audyssey, I've never done this and I thought, yeah, I probably should have done that, is show how Audyssey comes by default even on this app. So create new configuration, but we'll use the sample AVR, but there's no difference between this actually. Nah, because I think I'd have to measure again. So yeah, I don't want to do that right now. I think Audyssey may force you to measure, but I don't want to find out now. So we can connect as the sample AVR, right? But if you go to design target curves here, this is the stuff that you can control in the cell phone app as well. You know, the phone app, but the problem is on the phone app, you can only choose one high frequency roll off or the other. I think it's one or two. I haven't used the app for a while, so you know, don't quote me on that. But I think you can only choose one or the other. You also have mid-range compensation, which is, look, it's doing this to every channel. Look at this. It's doing it to the center. It's doing it to every channel. You know, these like archaic things that are still in Audyssey. You know, they're still there. You know, this mindset is still there. But what you do is you just delete these, right? You just press X on them, and you press X, right? Now, if you look at all of the channels, again, they're flat. And again, this is I forgot to show this. I didn't really think to show this on the other video, but I just wanted to show you that you can do that. You know, you can remove all of anything that Audyssey is applying that it thinks it needs to apply. You know, you can turn all this off. So now what I did is negate these before I started to measure, right? So I don't know if that does come into play, like having all of this set up right, having this the way these are all set up. But I'm super OCD about this. Like, this is all disabled. There's some of the filter settings as well. It's going to take a long time. They cut off at 20. I made sure they cut off at 10. Then I measured the whole thing completely flat. You know, I did that. So again, it might not make any difference, but that's what I did. So, all right, yeah, we're not going to save. All right, now let's get onto the Atmos calibration. And yeah, so. Yeah, sorry I took so long to get into this this height speaker Dolby Atmos calibration, but I did think the last video needed to be discussed about how to correctly roll off a curve all the way down either to 2 Hz or 10 Hz, whichever your system will do. They need to be rolled off properly. So. There is another way. I'm not going to discuss it now. It's very quick though. You basically just EQ up to the peak, and as soon as you start coming down, you drop the EQ then, and wherever you drop an EQ, typically it just rolls off in that way anyway. So yeah, okay, let's sign in. And we can just go to finalize. So we can transfer all the files. This is transferring all of the changes we did last time, and it's clearing all the current EQ on the Atmos speakers right now. So while that's uploading to the receiver, I want to discuss this real quick because I think it's valuable. So is my camera going to affect that? Let me double check to see what you can see. Okay, you can see the microphone. All right, I'll keep it here for now. If I go full screen, I assume you can't see the microphone. So where are we? Okay, yeah, here we are. So we're using a 90-degree calibration file on the UMic 1. This is a UMic 1. And the reason is because this microphone is not designed to measure a signal from up here and down here all with one calibration file. There's microphones that can do it. Who was it? No, if I remember, I'll go back to it. But anyway, because I talked to somebody at a show about this, and they said it's because of the actual microphone itself. But this is 90 degrees. You use a 90-degree calibration file, and it measures treble in a way that's how treble and that high frequencies should roll off. Or you know, that's how it measures, and it measures very well. Measures really well doing that. The problem is comes now is we're using a 90-degree calibration file, and we now have a speaker up here. Well, that's not 90 degrees anymore. It's not 90 degrees. What happens now? What does this mean though, and what does this do? Well, what it means is this collects more information, more treble information than this speaker would. If you brought this speaker down to here and measured 90 degrees, and then put the speaker back up into the height position and then measured it, it would measure. I know there's room acoustics going on, so you know, let's just forget that for now. But they wouldn't measure the same, and the reason is because in this position, the microphone is being allowed to collect more treble information than it would at 90 degrees. Another example is, let's imagine there was a speaker here, but it was in the ceiling, right? But that's not 90 degrees anymore, that's 0 degrees. And you collect even more treble information that way. So how you fix that is this is now a 90 degree, right? This is 90 degree compared to the speaker that I'm measuring. And it does make a difference. You measure one way and you measure another way. The straight 90 degree way, you collect more treble information. This way you do not. What does it actually mean though? Let's do this. Let's just put a target curve on. It's just going to be, it's going to be easier. Take that off and we'll smooth this. Is this smoothed? Okay, so imagine this was the original response of a center speaker, and this is the target curve. Well, if the microphone was being allowed to collect more treble than this by 2 to 3 dB, it would be above the line of the curve. What does that mean for EQ? It means you actually now have to EQ this down, which means when you're fully calibrated, you're EQing treble out of your system because the microphone is picking up too much treble. In this scenario, I would have to boost treble to get it to attract to the curve itself. You can negate this, yeah, sure, but does it really make a difference though in the way you hear Atmos? It does. It honestly does. I've always felt that my speakers have been muffled in the height channels, and you know, if you're watching this video and you've thought as well, sometimes I've set my speakers to 75 dB and I can't really hear the Atmos channels very well. I can't hear the heights that great. Some of it, and I'm not saying all of this, but some of it is, if you've EQ'd, is the fact that your speaker was collecting too much treble at 90 degrees and you've overcorrected for it. So I talked to somebody at a show, and again the name's not coming to me. All I'll tell you, I can't remember who it is. Who makes the Altitude 32? It's that processor. It's those guys. Trinoff, that's it. Thank God, it just came to my mind. I talked to Trinoff about this, and at a show a couple of weeks ago in Raleigh in North Carolina, and they said, yeah, it's because of this microphone. This microphone is not designed to be placed anywhere and be able to tell the difference and understand the difference between height and something being higher and then something being at 90 degrees. Trinoff have a microphone, their microphone that they use to measure, they said you don't need any files that way. We've designed the microphone specifically to allow a height speaker to be measured perfectly where it is, and this speaker to be measured where it is. With the UMIC 1, he says the microphone you're using, it requires the 90 degree calibration file. And yes, because it's 90, this isn't 90 degree anymore, you are collecting too much treble. And he said, yeah, it probably sounds about right within 1 to 2 dB. And I said, yeah, that's what I'm collecting. That's what I'm seeing. So I had a huge conversation with them for about an hour about this, about doing things manually and like how good their microphone is and all of this. So yes, I tilt my mic until I walk to the side here and just make sure my eye line lines up with that perfectly, so it collects information that the calibration file is looking for, and it does calibrate much better this way. So I do this to the rear and the front as well. So yeah, I just wanted to clear that up too, because I have seen some people calibrating Atmos speakers and they don't equate for the 90 degree calibration file, and this is not 90 degrees anymore. Imagine having a 90 degree calibration file being used and you were calibrating height speakers. You're just collecting way too much information, and your Atmos speakers are not going to sound as good because of it. I mean, to be honest, if you had speakers like that, you should probably use a 0 degree. If they're in the ceiling, I would not use the same calibration file. So anyway, that's the way I chose to do it. And yes, there's a slight between this position and that position, there is a slight difference in position, but we're not measuring a subwoofer here, right? With a subwoofer, if you move the microphone sometimes even an inch, you can get a completely different response, and that's because of the way bass is in a room. With these type of speakers going down to, you know, 80 hertz, 120 hertz, whatever they may be, moving a microphone by that much is not enough to drastically change things. Because some people are going to be like, well, you've moved the microphone. This gives better results, right? The microphone position itself didn't move, it's just the angle of the microphone moved. So I didn't move the microphone, I just changed the angle. So yeah, just wanted to discuss that because I don't think people do that. But it's something once I started measuring and I saw the difference between the two, and I'm like, well, it's because it's the 90 degree. So yeah, let's move on. So we have sent, right, everything's sent to the receiver. This is great. We're measuring the heights. Front height. We're doing the front heights today. And as you can see, this is flat. That means there's no EQ being applied to those channels whatsoever. And what you've just seen is 0.00. That is essentially what is being applied to those the front heights. So everything's shut off because I've been talking too long. So let's get everything going back. And while that's booting up, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the original measurement, the A over B. I will keep these just to see how it calibrates to it compared to it. Okay, my 4K Blu-ray player's back on, and we're doing the front. Where are they? Front height left. Okay, just had to find it there. I want to check my receivers at the correct level. It is, and I've just sent the file to it, which means it puts the speakers into large anyway. Okay, great. Let's go. Front height left. RTA. Okay, I'll just let it go to 150. It's just a thing of mine now. It's just something I like to do. Okay, we're showing good there. That is front, left, Atmos. Okay. And we're going to apply some smoothing to that, psychoacoustic. And let's do the front height right. Now, if this was my real measurement, and I wasn't doing this for YouTube, what I do is the cushions, all of the cushions get removed. This cushion will get removed. I move out of the way. Whatever I did on one side, I'll do the other. So if there was nothing there, then when I measure this speaker, I want nothing in the way either on this side. So I don't know if that'll affect treble, or it potentially may, but it wouldn't. Hopefully it's not by much or anything like that. So but yeah, when I measure, I make sure there's just nothing in the way. Zero, right? Just nothing. Front height right. Okay. RTA. Okay, good. Yeah, I mean it's basically it's tracking the same because it's it's the same speaker, so or the same type. So psychoacoustic, yeah, I mean you can tell this is the same speaker. There's a little inconsistencies here and there. It's in a different side of the room, and things like that. But you can tell this is the same speaker. It's the bass is rolling off, basically the same spot, and so is the treble, right? Within 1 dB, it might even be less than that. It might be half a dB. So yeah, front right Atmos. Okay, that's that done. Now let's SPL align. What's on screen? Just those two, great. SPL align to 75 dB. What this does for now is it, let's just say this speaker was measuring half a dB higher and that one wasn't. It takes care of, for now, we can do all this after, but it takes care of any inconsistencies in volume that may one side may have over the other. So we've just aligned them in volume, and the reason this is important because now we average the response of both speakers. Because for now this is the way I'm going to calibrate the speakers, in this way. I will try an individual calibration, but for now we're going to do them as this. We're going to combine the responses of both. For now, I have experienced better results doing it this way. Front Dolby. Oh, actually, front Atmos AV. Let's just do that. Average 5. I can't spell. Let's just do AV. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Now what we do is we go to EQ, and again I don't think where this line is actually matters, but we just want to see it. And yeah, we pretty much want to EQ everything under that point, right there. Generate measurement from target shape. That puts the target curve on this display, and you can really see then what's happening. Then what we do is we go to trace arithmetic, and it is the target over front Atmos average. Yeah, I'm gonna have to be careful here about the way I name things. And then you do A over B. Generate. Then we align that, and that's the response we get. Let's take the target off. What has this done? Look, it's the exact opposite. It's putting in the exact opposite response that we need to get to the target curve. So yeah, this is exceptionally good. Now, if we're looking to EQ again in a way that saves amplifier space, you could say, or it gives us more headroom, this is the target, this one here, very, very smooth, right here. But the default speaker is boosting, yeah, this is the default, right? Front Atmos average. This is the actual response of both speakers. We've actually got more bass than the target, right? So there's too much bass in the system right now. This is great because we can apply negative numbers here and get back some headroom. This is awesome. And again here at 200 Hertz. This is where we're really getting into bass frequencies anyway. You could say 500, but and there might be a little bit of boosting here. But this is nice that most of this in the bass region is actually would be negated. We're going to use negative numbers here, and it looks as though it's going to be around 50 Hertz. So this is something we can look for. When things go back to 0 or positive numbers, is when does that happen? It should be around 50 something. So let's take all this off the screen. Am I selected the A over B? I think I am. Export measurements as text. Exports for A over B, perfect. And we're just going to use the full range. Front Atmos curve. Great. Let's have a look. Front Atmos curve. And okay, let's clean all this up. We don't need it. We're at 37. Did I normalize the volume before I exported? No. Bad habit. I think it does make a difference. I tried to import with volumes that high and Audyssey wouldn't allow it. So I do think normalizing the volume like this is the best way to do. So this is 0 dB, right? And what it's done is it's actually normalized this volume for me, which is what Audyssey does, but within a certain threshold. Typically it was 10 dB, but you can change that to be more. So let's just resave this now. Resave it. We'll go over Front Atmos curve. Let's come out of there. Let's go back in. Great, we're at negative numbers. Even though that's a bug, I think. That this is different code. So around 50, weren't it? Yep, exactly at 50. So again, we're gaining, these are all negative numbers. This is excellent. And the reason, again, it's excellent is because we're tracking perfectly to a curve, a Harman target curve, and the speakers currently are producing too much bass. This is great, again, because you can apply negative numbers. Negative numbers means that you're gaining back so much power from these speakers by doing it. And typically this is where I would have wanted to roll off all of my speakers anyway, but then we'd run into that issue. So what we do now is we copy the code, because we need to fix all these numbers. Let's go back into the spreadsheet. Select all, clear the column, select all, clear the column. Copy and paste in. Data, split text to columns with a space. Okay, now we need to fix the format. That one. And this one is the triple number, and that's the triple zeros. Fixed. 0.00. Select it, then select all. Control, enter, and now everything is fixed. Everything down there is fixed. Can I just delete that? Delete row? Yep. Okay, great. So select A, and then Control left click B, and then Control C for control copy. Now we've got all this other stuff still selected, from 2 Hz to 50, which is what we want to replace as 0 dB. Paste, that's gone in now. And after our target curve, and when I want it to end, everything is now just flat response. Completely flat. On the receiver is not boosting or using negative numbers in any way. It could even use negative numbers, but we're just not going there right now. The goal here is to not boost these in any way and finish off the target curve properly. Okay, let's fix this treble area too. Let's cut off again. I don't want to get into the 20s, so we cut there. 3. We are boosting treble here. I don't love it. So I'm going to fix it. Should we though? I could let it roll off by itself. These are very hard to hear frequencies by anybody. So what you could do is you could have done it one before and use a lesser number, 960. It's less than this number. That means it will have a controlled roll off now instead of a boosting. If we're boosting consistently boosting treble, the curve will continually do that. Some may want that. I'm worried about it. But again, you're at 19 Hertz or 19K, you know. These are difficult to hear frequencies. I'm not as bothered by these frequencies at all about getting right. It's the rest of them that are more important, especially this bass roll-off that we had this issue going on here. That's way more important to get that right than worrying too heavily about this. But in any case, this is an elegant fix because this number is less than that number, and it will roll off nicely to 0. So let's just do that. We save it. Okay, and let's import the target curve. We could connect to the receiver, you don't have to. Let me just check my player's not going off. So what we import in here, we're front, left and right. And we'll apply it to the others. So let me double check. Again, you can never be too sure here about what you're importing. Just always double check. I'm really, because you know, you make a lot of mistakes over the years doing this, and just always make sure you're importing the correct file. Great, excellent. This is perfect. So what did we achieve here? We're using negative numbers up until 0, and then right at 0 we're continuing in 0. Instead of what would have happened before if I'd have just cut the EQ here, or the target curve, it would have rolled off like this again, exactly like the center speaker. Again, you can't do that because you're actually boosting there. And if anything, you can see that this is being rolled off. This I presume this line is 20K, right? And you can tell after 20K here, it's actually rolling off slowly. Now, if this line here represents 24K, the very edge of this, then we haven't got to 0 yet, but we are drifting down, and I think that is again the most elegant way you could fix the treble and the bass with the spreadsheet system of finishing off the EQ curve. So yeah, very nice. Other way, again, look at the center speaker like this. That was the other way. Down here, sorry, I'm down here. It was the other way, and the other way is where you now undertrack. I found a way to get the speaker, the front speaker, to undertrack, and look, you don't want. I don't think you want that either. I know you're rolling off, but you know, this is just so much more controlled. I don't have to use the cutoff mode. Again, I want to find a way to do this all by myself, right? I'm the one in control of what happens on my system, how I want things to sound, everything. And this is the way we can do it. It does require a little bit of knowledge there of using a spreadsheet, but if you're willing to put in the time and learn it, you'll be able to do this no problem. You know, when I'm doing something that I love, which is home theater, speakers, calibrate, TV calibration, anything, when I put my mind to it, you know, there's, within reason, I guess you could say, there's nothing I won't do to try and make my sound and system sound better than what it does by, you know, default. So we need to reconnect to the receiver, and I'm pretty sure we're just good to go. Let me double check a few things to transfer these. I think we're good to go. Yeah, there's no limits on them. This is good. Let me double check that it's applying to the right channels. Front height. Oh, I haven't put individual channels on. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but because it will apply to both anyway. But I typically do put individual channels on just to see what is being applied. So yeah, front left, front right. It's being applied to that. All of my other settings are correct. Let's transfer. And yeah, hopefully, again, this is the combined response. The combined response out of both is going to be very close to the Harman target curve. I've talked about this in the past, but in my other videos, but I seem to get a better response by averaging my two speakers, my two measurements like this, calibrating and doing it and calibrating that way. This new import EQ mode, or you know, curves that we're using here though now, that potentially could be you know, individual calibration of speakers match actually may be better now. So there's a possibility there. I'm going to give that a try, but after this video my next goal is to try and calibrate a subwoofer in MultEQ-X Audyssey without the mini DSP. So I want to know what you can do with it, and yeah. So let's go back to this. That's at 0 dB, so we actually don't want to see that at all. We'll probably be around 75, around here. And let's get ready to take another measurement for both. Front height left. Alright, let's go. Let's see what we have. Okay. Front left Atmos Cal and psychoacoustic smoothing. Whew. I can tell already, even that speaker. Look how smooth it is. And I don't even know what the target curve looks like right now, but I know that's good. And we haven't even combined them yet. Alright, front, height right. Okay, front right, Atmos cal. Okay, smooth, psychoacoustic smoothing. Both track really nicely, but just to be sure, let's align them to 75 dB. Then we average the response. Let's remove these. That can stay average because it doesn't matter. Alright. So, target. Where's target? Okay, there's target. Can I change the colours? There we go. That's easier to see. Okay. So, what do we have? This is a Harman target curve. A perfect response. It is the way our ears hear sound. We hear sound in this way. Bass, you need higher levels of bass for it to sound the same volume as these other sounds down here. Right. That is the target. That is the you know, that is really how our ears hear. And can we get a speaker or a set of speakers now to track to this level of accuracy? Let's have a look. Red. Wow. Yes, you can. Now there is some treble roll off there, I see. But look, you're getting. These are one thing to think about here is we don't. Well, depending on how much money you have, obviously, is a lot of us don't have the luxury of using full range speakers. You know, the floor standing speakers that I have here, all around as well. You know, I think most houses or most home theatre setups that you walk into, unless they're, you know, bleeding edge home theatre setups, we're going to be using bookshelf speakers for our surrounds. And some people use very, very small speakers for even their Atmos channels, right? So, you know, the amount of restrictions that the normal person, the normal home theatre person has is quite significant. But me personally, I didn't want any timbre matching differences between my surrounds and my Atmos channels. They're all the same speaker. It's a bookshelf speaker. It's in the Auro 3D layout. I haven't drilled into my ceilings to get this sound. You could say, well, you drilled into the walls to get that. It would take a lot more work to get these speakers like in brackets and you know, facing that way. When you've got Auro 3D set up, yeah, when it's set up like this, I've actually realised that it can be equally as good or better, I think, than just having them in the ceilings. I think. And I've heard a few people say this too. They may have been people with really high-end speakers, because I haven't heard them sound this way, and I'll explain in a minute. But let's talk about this curve. So again, we cut off at 50, but we're already, you know, the speaker's rolling off before that. This is actually really good, right? We're saving a lot of we're saving the speakers from unnecessary bass. We're not overdriving the speakers. This is good. There's a nice natural roll-off here, is what the speaker was originally doing. At least we hope it was. Front Atmos average. Yeah. So yeah, we've negated all of this bass, right? That the speaker was doing. We've got a lot back. We've got back some amplifier headroom. We're not stressing the speaker either as much. This is really good. But the roll-off again, it's meeting itself really nice. Which again, this is how I would roll a subwoofer off, by the way. And this is how I roll my subwoofer off. Whatever is the original response of the speaker, the EQ'd version of this must roll off in the same way. Now there might be some splitting here, but we are rolling off the speaker in the same way. This is exactly what you want, and this is exactly what that spreadsheet fix has done. It's allowed the speaker to just roll off naturally as it would. So this is great. Now one thing I would love in REW is the ability to do this so you didn't need to use a spreadsheet. So what I mean is if you could export text, right? And there's a button down here, and it would say, so use custom range, right? Let's just say the cutoff was 50, and let's say it was, you know, probably 19, yeah, around there. We wanted to cut off, right? Then there should be a check down here in REW. Fill in, like, I don't know what they would call it, but like 0 dB fill in, right? Check or no check. And then you'd mouse over it and it'd tell you what that means. What it would mean is fill in the rest of the range that you have here. To be honest, you could just be using full range. Or tell it, look, this is what I want it to cut off, but fill in the rest of the measurement range with zeros. That would be incredible if REW could do that. It would be amazing if you could do that, because you wouldn't need to learn how to use spreadsheets or anything like that. To be fair though, I actually like doing it. It's, you know, I like to try and use my mind and things, and you know, it keeps me busy. So you know, I don't mind doing it. So however we have to do it, I will do it. But so bass wise, we're tracking bass gorgeously here. Maybe a little dip here, but look, we're in 2 dB, 1 to 2 dB on target the entire way down. And around here we're getting into the 1 dB of accuracy, and we drop off 18 Hertz. That's the natural speaker roll-off of this, by the way. And you don't really need to push your speaker more than they are with the bass portion of this and the treble region. If that's where they're rolling off and you've EQ'd really nicely up until this point and there is now a roll-off here, that is completely fine. You've got so much accuracy all the way down to, you know, 18, you know, 18K with this type of accuracy all the way down from a bookshelf, by the way. You know, this is not a floor stander. This is a bookshelf. 120 watts per channel? I'll have to double check that. You know, but we've got essentially a perfect response from around, let's just say 60 Hertz all the way down to around 18. Borderline 20, but around 18, right? And it's just incredible response the entire way down. It's amazing. So yeah, I keep checking my I don't want to keep hitting that. I don't want to turn my microphone off by mistake. So I'm not doing the backs, but I'll explain to you what this type of response does to the rears, and I have back Atmos and I have front Atmos, and what this does to the sound. So Auro 3D introduced a voice of God speaker, and one of the reasons why I think that they would have had to have introduced that is because with speakers on the walls like this, even though they're at the very top of the ceiling, and they're at the top of the ceiling, moving a sound from, say, the front left to, say, the back right, and you actually hearing the sound go over your head is very difficult with bad speakers. And with bad speakers, what I mean is essentially having a response like this, where it's just all over the place, right? It's just not tracking well. It's just not good, right? It's not tracking cleanly the entire way down the frequency band. And yeah, having a sound move over the top of you, even for most of the time, it's been very difficult, even with you know, my speakers, which I think are relatively good. You know, they're good ELAC Unify speakers, all of them. They're good speakers. But yeah, moving a sound through the system was very difficult, and I assume this is why the voice of God was introduced, because now you would have a perfect sound moving all the way across, and then when it went into the middle, you'd actually hear it in the middle. Well, when you have 4 Atmos channels now calibrated to this Harman target curve, I put on Spears and Munsell to measure the sound, and I set everything up. There's also some really good panning things that Spears and Munsell disc has, and one of them is moving a sound from the bottom left speaker to the top left Atmos channel, so you can check for volume differences. And then what it does is it actually moves the sound diagonally through the room to the other side, to the right Atmos channel, from the left to the right. If I've been saying them wrong, that's what I mean. From the left front Atmos to the back right Atmos. After doing this calibration, it was the first time I have ever heard in my room a sound move through the room, and I could actually hear it. I could almost see this. I know this is going to sound weird, but I could almost see it. I could literally hear the sound move directly above and continue to move. Before, the sound I could hear the sound. I didn't really know where the sound was, and it was kind of muffled. And then occasionally as well, you lose volume as well because of the handover. The handover from one speaker to the other. You know, you lose volume, and it just didn't sound cohesive from one speaker to the other. But again, when you now have the front speakers with this response and the back speakers, Atmos speakers, with this response, the handover in sounds is incredible. It is absolutely amazing. So now what happens is you can literally move sounds in 3D, which is what Dolby Atmos is, and you can hear the effects of that 3D work. So now, before I started calibrating my system in this way, I used one of the best Atmos demos, in my opinion, on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray at least, is Dune. Dune 2021. And it's where Paul gets blasted by a sandstorm just before the big worm attack comes, and Paul gets absolutely slammed by the dust and the sandstorm and everything that's coming, and things are trying to take off. All the planes and copters or whatever they're called are taken off. It's causing a load of sandstorm. He gets whacked. What happens there is the sound. All of the sound gets dropped out, and all you can hear is particles of sand and voices from the Bene Gesserit, I guess. It's Bene Gesserit, and he's connecting essentially, right? He's awakening, you could say. And anyway, these sand particles move through the room, and they were doing this. They were doing this before, right? They were doing this before, even with my pre-calibrated setup and everything like that, and it was still the best sound I'd ever heard. I was like, oh my god, they're moving sand particles through the room, and I could, you know, you can hear everything like that. But now it's got a new lease of life. I can almost grab the sand in front of me, right? The particles are moving in front of me. It's almost like I could grab the sound. I could touch the sound. That's what this does to you, does for a system. I haven't upgraded my speakers. I haven't done anything. All I've done is tracked them on a Harman target curve perfectly. The front and the back completely perfectly, and the back ones get this response too. It's the exact same thing. And you just get absolutely incredible immersive Dolby Atmos soundtracks just come alive. Some sound good anyway, right? Some sound like Dune, it sounded absolutely amazing anyway. But when you can touch and you can grab a sound in front of you, that is beyond what I thought you could do with just EQ. This is just EQ. This is just well, it's not fully EQ. It's manual EQ, but it's importing a house curve. I know it is a form of EQ, but to do this with just equalization, I'm just shocked, absolutely shocked that you can actually do this and achieve this level of. This is honestly the home theater experience that I've always wanted. It really is. It's also shown me that you don't have to spend obscene amounts of money to have good sound. Now, subwoofers, you do need to spend quite a bit. I think to get good subwoofer response, you have to be in the $500 range, and you at least have to have 2 of them. So you're spending $1,000 on subwoofers easily. I think that's what mine cost. It was $500 to $600. I think I'll have to double check all this because it's been a long time since I knew how much a lot of this stuff cost. So, but yeah, subwoofers subwoofers require a lot of power, and you have to have the power for whatever room size you have. It's as simple as that. These subwoofers are 1,000 watt each, and is it 1,000 or 500? I think it's 1,000, but it could be 500. Either way, I'll find out. And I just reached the potential of those speakers with the way I have that calibrated and everything. So I'm right, for me, my system, I feel as though I've calibrated everything and the way everything's sounding. I think I'm right on the edge of the performance of my receiver on the speakers. Not that it sounds bad, I'm just right at the point where I'm like, I've got the maximum out of these speakers, I've got the maximum out of the receiver, and I don't think it can go any higher than this. That is it. If I had a bigger room, 100% you'd need bigger subwoofers. You know, more than 500 watts or 1,000. Let me double check what they are. You know, that's ELAC sub 3030. Okay. Does it show on here what they are? Because I would. It's 500 or 1,000. I don't know what it is. $900 subwoofer. Whew. I didn't realize they were that expensive. So yeah. But that does show you, you know, with subwoofers, if you want good bass, I think 500 and up is really where it, you know, you really want this level of performance, where your rooms ignite with bass. You know, when there's an explosion happening in a movie, your room ignites with sound and subwoofer energy. Does it say the specs? Let's have a look. 1,000 watts peak 1000 watts, 500 watts, right? So it's a 500 watt with a peak of 1000. It will push that hard, and they really do. They really do push that hard. And for this room, 100% perfect. I'm right on the edge of performance. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it. So I've showed how to get over this issue of overboosting with the design, with the target curves. You know, we've learned how to control this. You can use the cutoff mode. That's very easy. You can do that. You just cut it off. And again, I wouldn't boost anything above 0 dB, right? You want everything. That's your cutoff point essentially. If you override, and that takes care of it really nicely. But again, if you're like me, I want full manual. I want to understand all this. And yeah, we found a really elegant way of dealing with this, and really cool. And yeah, the speaker response that you get is incredible. I'm using the Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit by joentell. It has full range test tones on there. There's even sweeps too. So there's the subwoofer free sweep, sorry, as well. And I'm going to try and figure out how to do this from a disc, because one of the reasons again is with this laptop, I can't get a lot of these exclusive, you can't see them right now because I'm not connected to my Denon receiver, but I can't get exclusive drivers to work or ASIO drivers to work on Windows 11 and on this. Now there has been a lot of there's been some firmware updates, and there's been some updates, maybe that'll fix it, but Windows 10, my laptop does it perfectly. So look, if I have to measure from there just to get the measurements, I might do it. But then what I might do is I might use the RTA as well, measure the subwoofer that way, and see what the differences are between measuring it in a sweep versus an RTA, because this is only capturing information at 1/48th octave. So it's not going to have the exact same frequency response. It's not going to be able to capture as much data as a sweep, but it shouldn't be by much. So but we're very sensitive to bass, and I don't think you know, reducing information here is going to be a good idea. You can do it very easily here because you smooth everything down to psychoacoustic. This is why this works gorgeously here. You put everything in psychoacoustic, and that's how you hear, because you're collecting way too much information here anyway. This is just too much. We need to bring this down. Subwoofer, though, is the opposite. You want as much information as possible to get as much detail as possible. So I don't know if this method will work. So, but again, we do have sweeps on the disc, so yeah. Okay, I think that's enough from me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've been getting a lot of good comments lately. If you've tried this method, or you've tried any different methods and stuff, please let me know. I'd like to talk to other people that calibrate their system and what's worked for them. And have you ever tried importing a target curve to Audyssey? How do you do it? Do you import EQs? Do you use PEQs and you just, you know, you EQ and it looks good? It looks good to my curve and everything like that. Do you do that, or do you use the target curve? Because now we have two options. And when you do your EQ work, how close to the target is your EQ? Is it as tight as this? Is it within 1 to 2 dB the entire way down the spectrum? Because I've seen people's EQ, other people's EQs, and they're nowhere near this. And I mean, they're nowhere close to this. So, you know, that's why I think this method is so incredible. And in the room you hear it too. You know, when your speakers go from, you know, a $1,200 pair of floor standers to sounding like potentially even a $5,000 system, that makes me smile. You know, when I heard this, I was like, wow, you know, shocked by what you could do. You know, not messing around with EQs and stacking them in Audyssey like you can do. None of that. You know, measuring, EQ measuring 3 times, after 4 times, after 5 times to see what you can do. You don't need to do that. You can just do, you know, you can just do this. Import as text. Edit the text file a little. Yeah, sure, there's a little work to be done there and stuff to finish off the EQ, the curve, to finish it off and things like that, and maybe take care of this treble region as well. But yeah, what you can achieve here is just astronomically better than the performance of the speaker itself. Yeah, you know, these speakers don't sound, the cost of these speakers, they don't sound that way anymore. You know, a mid-range speaker, this does not sound like a mid-range speaker. This sounds like stuff that I was demoing at the show in Raleigh, Audio Advice Live. I went into some of the high-end rooms in there to see what their systems sound like, and it sounds like that now. Well, interestingly enough, I just want to talk about this. There was demo in some subwoofers and stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm going to see what their subwoofers sound like. I can't remember what they were. But I know they was much bigger than mine, and I was expecting gigantic bass, and I was like, the bass doesn't sound as good as my room. Now, one thing to appreciate though is that these rooms are really bad for sound. These demo rooms that they're giving you, it's in a hotel, right? And it's not really set up for sound. Also, you know, they've probably only got a few hours to set their systems up, and are they going to run a full manual EQ on every single speaker that they've got? Manual, no, but they may be able to do an automatic one. And I'm telling you right now, unless you're Trinoff, and even that I don't know yet, because I kind of still want to demo that of how good their manual, how good their auto EQ is. You know, how good is it? Where it can you can let the system go ahead and do it. You know, how good is it? I don't know. But under that, right, all of them, none of the automatic EQ systems on the market, none of them, Audyssey included, Dirac and Wipeout? What else is there? Maybe there's another one as well. None of them can do this. None of them can do this. All right? And if that's what they're using to set their rooms up very quickly for a trade show, then it doesn't give you a really good indication of what those subs are actually capable of doing. Because I demoed a few movies in there, and the subs were like 18 inches, and they were nowhere near, they couldn't even come close to what mine sound like. Right? Now, I've gone pretty crazy on the EQ on my subs, and I think I've pushed my subs right to the edge of their performance. But from subs that cost, you know, 5 times or more than mine, the performance just wasn't there. But again, they're probably dealing with very quick setups, and that's why I'm so impressed with my setup now. Is what I'm trying to say here is I've got a relatively well, I don't know what you want to call relatively cheap, but I think it's affordable. I know it's like somebody might be watching the video and say, well, it's $800 for a subwoofer. Yeah, I mean, look, this is my hobby, you know, so I'm willing to put the money that I earn into my system, and I did it in the budget that I had, and for me, I'm fine spending this money on a Unify system, ELAC Unify, with the subs as well, and it was within my budget. But again, I'm trying to say these aren't high-end speakers, right? They're not. There's much more expensive speakers out there, that are probably much better, but with the shortcomings that these speakers have, from the subs and to the speakers themselves, you can achieve borderline perfection within 1 to 2 dB of any speaker that has the power to do it. Now, I've been mentioning power a lot lately, and that is a thing. Now, if you had to roll your speakers off, like if you've got speakers and you know they couldn't perform and you had to roll your speakers off at 120 Hertz, don't feel bad. You know, that's bass now, just go into your subwoofer. Because most speakers, even the cheap, let's just say it was $150 for a bookshelf, right? Most speakers should be able to perform at 120 here, yeah, and you'd be able to calibrate all the way down. You might not be able to go as close in the treble. Maybe that goes to 15, right? But who cares? You know, who cares at that point? You've got just incredible performance from 120 all the way down to around 15K. You probably get it higher, right? You might even be able to go down all the way to you know, to 18 and even 20K with even cheaper speakers. But my whole point is you can 100% get your sound system, whichever range it may fall into, and still sound very good. Now, again, subwoofers, on the other hand, I do think you should go put as much money into the subwoofers as possible, because having good subwoofers is a game changer in a movie. As well, if you have the choice of getting 2 subwoofers, please get 2, because one just, you know, it's okay, but two really is, it just, I think it's mandatory to have 2. If you take home theatre seriously, 2 subwoofers is mandatory, 100%. I've experienced this in my last house and now this house with upgrading these. It's mandatory to have this level of bass in a movie. It changes the way it sounds entirely. You're getting much more even response out of these 3 seats that I'm sitting in here as well. So, yeah. Alright, that's enough. I appreciate you watching. And again, yeah, let me know, please let me know what you think to the video. And whether you've tried this method before, or whether you're just getting into picking this program up, MultEQ-X, it's an Audyssey app. You can get it on the Windows Store, or Microsoft Store, and you can buy it from there. It is $200 or $199 and stuff, and I know everyone's going to be like, why can't it be free? Well, I've just showed you why it can't be free. Because you can't get this level of response for no money. I tell you what, if Audyssey could do this automatically, you wouldn't even need this program. You wouldn't even need that. So you can't get this for free. You know, you do have to pay for it. And when it comes to being able to fully control everything, again, this is my hobby. This is more than a hobby, this is a lifestyle. So, you know, this is peanuts. And stuff like the test tone discs and stuff like that. Spears and Munsell disc. You know, this is what I enjoy, so I'm willing to put my dollars and my money into this. So yeah, not a big deal to me, even though I know it's probably going to be a pain point for some people. But if you are willing to put the time in to understand how all of this works, like how REW works, picking up a microphone, calibrating things yourself, if you really want to go in hard and just put yourself out there and try and learn something, and because that's what I love to do this. Like I want to gather more information about this. You know, it's just something I really enjoy. It is so worth it. You know, it really is. What I'd love to do next though is calibrate somebody else's system. I'd love it if somebody, one of my neighbours, I'd love it if they have like a Denon, you know, a Denon or a Marantz. Marantz is probably a little too high end for a lot of people. Where Denon's pretty, but I don't know, Denon's got a good name. So I mean, I assume a lot of people do pick up Denons because I think they're the best receivers within a certain range. Well, I mean, they are. They measure the best as well, so they really do. But I would love to compare. I'd love to calibrate a neighbour's system. Problem is, again, they'd have to have the MultEQ-X app. The license gets assigned to your receiver. This is why I weren't afraid of showing like any license thing, because it gets assigned to it. You can't even I couldn't even move it. So yeah, but I'd love to calibrate somebody else's system, and there'd be, I'd love to see their faces like when it's finished. About what the speakers they had, especially if they had budget speakers. So anyway, yeah, that's enough of me talking. Again, I appreciate you watching and have a great day. Thanks. Bye.